Okay, go for it.
Bring it, ring like this doesn't mean you bring my hat.
That's not equatable.
Excuse me. You think he forged it? Bring something like it. Or you think he learned it from someone else? Bring something
Why
like
would
it.
he need that? Why would God feel like he's challenged?
It's not what.
Is God challenged by men?
Listen, God cares even to the minutiae of details.
But he never
Because he's
explained a lot
Rabb.
of things.
He's the Rabb.
He cares about that one, but he doesn't care about a lot of other things. Like how you pray.
Excuse me.
The minute I came up with a verse, you instantly said you have to speak Arabic.
Similar.
So therefore,
How
you're
is it similar?
defeated.
The Quran is like none of the Arabic speech from its time. Totally different. It's not like the statement of the Quran, the soothsayers. It's not the statement like the poets. Yeah? So it's not poetry, it's not prose, it's not the statement of soothsayer. It's in its own linguistic genre. Unique. It doesn't have any rhymes and meters that they're familiar with, 16 types, bihar. None of them. So that's why when you bring the Quran, if you want to bring an imitation, you have to bring something like what it is. So there are lots of objective works of how the Quran is like, so that people can bring or try to bring something like it. Why, even after the objective nature is shown, people fail to bring something like it? Is the question to you, us. Why?
Because you're putting constraints on it.
No, that's the conditions. The Quran itself.
No, but that's constraints. The Quran says chapter
challenges
like it,
people
right?
to bring something like it.
Like it.
If it was a human
What is the
speech,
meaning like it?
the way it is.
What's the difference between like it and exactly?
Quran doesn't say bring exactly.
No, what's the difference?
Exactly would be exactly a duplication, a duplicate thing.
Like your ring, exactly like this ring.
But the Quran doesn't say
So therefore, I don't have to bring something exactly like
say
it.
duplicate it.
Good.
Quran says bring something like it of that nature.
I choose Surah Al-Fatiha. Seven verses, right, to it. And it talks in simplicity, right? It doesn't have any complexity to it.
Okay,
I'm just saying,
Al-Fatiha.
if I can produce something...
Wait. Have you produced it? Okay, recite to me your production. Let's see how it's like the stylistics of the Quran. Because it needs to be within the stylistics of the Quran. Yeah?
Why? You're putting constraints to it.
That's the condition.
What's the likeness?
You don't like it?
Why would I need to speak like God if I'm making something equal to that
Quran
understanding?
tells you bring something like the Quran. If this ring is made of silver,
But if it says
you should make-
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, I can't say the same words.
you cannot bring
You know?
it a plastic because it's not like it.
Yeah, but it's
So
words.
when
There's a
the
difference.
Arabic Quran has stylistics, usloob and asali, right? These are stylistics. You have to match those stylistics. So if I say, for example, a sentence starts with a nominal sentence, with a noun, then a preposition, then a verb, and so on, that's the stylistics. So you have to bring something of
So you're
that
putting
nature.
those constraints on it.
That's the condition.
That's the condition.
Where? It doesn't say
We are
that.
not we are not asking
The
the
whole
same
statement.
word.
No, but the statement like it, you're adding
Bimithli.
other things.
No. When it says like,
Translate it.
the mithl is as the Quran is. If the Quran is now within that stylistics,
No, it's not. It doesn't ask you that. I am saying one verse. It says one verse.
I just told you.
No, hold on. If it,
فَأْتُوا سُورَةٌ
the first
مِن
surah,
مِثْلِهِ.
the first challenge is not the entire Quran. The first challenge is to bring one verse like it, and then the second challenge.
Verse where?
Where's your book? Take it out. You'll see it.
Doesn't
It will
say
say
one verse like
one
verse.
surah, one surah.
Surah
Sorry,
and
one
verse does
surah.
not say.
Apologies. Surah.
You got your
one
chronology
surah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Where did you get this chronology? One surah, then 10 surah, then one book.
Hold on.
Where did you get that from?
In your Quran. In your Quran it says
No,
one
the
surah,
chronology.
bring one
Where
surah like it,
has-
then it says bring 10 like it,
That
and then
chronology
the
that you
entire
said-
book like it. So God is improving his challenge because someone has met his
That
challenge.
chronology that you...
That's the only reason.
know,
Otherwise, but you're not listening to me either.
I am disputing your
You can't
chronology.
dispute without me finishing first.
You said it came as one chapter first,
Yes.
then chapter, then one whole book.
Yeah.
Right? I'm disputing that chronology. Chronology is the sequence of events. Right?
So your book
Where
is not
did you-
insequential.
The challenge of first one, then 10, then her whole book.
Yeah.
I am disputing
That's how the book
that.
is written now.
Where does it say
Why
that?
is it like that? Are you disagreeing?
I am
Are you disagreeing
telling-
with
I
the
am-
chronology
I am-
of the book that is
I am
written today?
telling you
So you're not Muslim then?
That you
You can't be because you're disagreeing with it, brother.
With all due respect, you should have known the Quran as it stands today. This is not the order of sequential revelation.
So I can put it any order I want.
Don't change the goalpost. You made a claim. This is the order in the Quran
As it stands.
as it stands. But I am saying, when the Quran was sent down, revealed, this is not the order as you find the order as it stands today.
How do you prove that? It's a question. Don't be upset with it.
When the Quran was revealed, we have historical narrations.
So why didn't they follow it?
Can I finish what I'm saying? We are dealing with whether the Quran as it stands today this is the way it was revealed, in that order. To know that it wasn't, we can go to the historical accounts. And we find the historical accounts tells us. The first one was اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Okay? This is surah much later in the Quran. So historical evidence tells us this is the order. It's not the order as it stands in the format of the book today. So you cannot use your argument saying just because it appears in this way, that's why the Quran initially challenged and people met and then Quran improved it. No. The Quranic challenge of all of these three challenges still stands today in any way you want it. I am saying you cannot bring to this day. Now, someone has a product of imitation and say, look, this matches this particular surah is in that stylistics and it matches those conditions. You can't. I have been challenging in this park since the early 90s, mid-90s. And if God willing, if I'm still in London, I'll be coming and keep on challenging them. The Quran has been challenging for the last 1444 years or more. Because the challenge is every week, every day, every year, Muslims are challenging. Excuse me. So it's not something that Muslims are hiding from the challenge. Muslims are actively saying, where is it? You can go in the internet and they say, surah this, surah that. But ask yourself, the people who are imitating such imitation, which surah is it imitating and how are they meeting the condition? None of them does. Not a single one of them. Not a single one of them. You can bring any way you like, we can talk about it. None of them meets the condition. Why? If it's a human product, Shakespeare can be imitated. You can ask DeepSeek, you can ask ChatGPT, it will imitate Shakespeare and you wouldn't even know whether it was Shakespeare or not.
Because they don't place the constraints that you're placing on it.
Speech within the conditions of the stylistics of Shakespeare, you can imitate it. But you cannot imitate the stylistics of the Quran.
Says who?
Says the Muslims for the last 49 years.
Then you can't translate the Quran.
It's not about translation. It's about imitating the stylistics and bringing something similar.
So, but then it's mistranslation.
Brother, it's nothing to do with humanity. Nothing to do with translation.
But you can't take both sides. See, that's the problem with religious context. You can't take both.
I am simply saying, when a book challenges and says, this is a book from God, you cannot bring something similar to it. If you are a really individual with integrity, you will say, how can it be from God? If God doesn't exist, for example, it will be a human product. Maybe a number of people gathered together and made it. Let me try it. Okay, I don't have the ability. Let me go and ask someone who knows Arabic. The Quran says that if you cannot do it yourself, then you seek your helpers and supporters besides God to do that job.
So why did the Quran also say several things? Because you say quite a lot of stuff, but you interrupt me as well. So it's a bit difficult
I am only talking about that challenge. Why are people failing to meet that challenge? That is an evidence for the book that is from God.
If I could finish, right? So your first thing is you're putting constraints prior hand.
I disagree with your wordings.
And your constraints...
I disagree with your wordings. We cannot continue any further. Because a challenge...
What's a constraint?
Constraint, you're saying is a negative thing.
I didn't say it's negative.
Use the word conditions. That's what the challenge is about.
But there is no conditions. You're constrained. Constraint and condition is different. When the Quran,
exactly, they're different.
When the Quran says the condition,
what's the condition of the Quran?
When the Quran gives you specific conditions, it highlights it. Does it not?
What are they?
And the Quran highlighted it.
The 5 pillars of Islam. It doesn't say 1, maybe 2, bring maybe 6 like it. No, it says 5 pillars of.
It only needed to choose one word.
So therefore, you're placing the constraint constraints that you have elaborated out of your head to stop anyone from proceeding further than that. So therefore, you're putting the constraints.
Disagree. What you
So the constraints is not in the Quran.
Disagree.
It only says bring something like it. So that means if I can choose Surah Al-Fatiha, and I can do better than that surah, you will say it's failing because it's not meeting the language, it's not meeting the poetic understanding of it, it's not meeting the
You misunderstood the
phonetic,
challenge. That's the problem.
the grammatic,
No, you
the
misunderstood
language.
the challenge.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what you would
No,
say.
no.
So therefore, nobody
It's
can
not
meet
me.
your challenge.
No,
Nobody can, because you're making sure
Objectively,
nobody
we
meets
can bring
it.
Shakespeare's work and imitate it.
I can do better than the Quran.
Wait.
I can. I can do much better than the Quran.
Yeah, of course.
I'll explain to you how to pray.
Wait.
When to pray.
Wait.
The Quran doesn't do that.
Wait.
I will tell you why you shouldn't pray to a black
Relax.
stone.
Hey, relax.
The Quran doesn't do that.
Relax.
No, but you have to let me
you-
speak as well,
Your
brother.
arrogance is
My
taking over you, right?
Because you are not allowing me speak.
Let me explain to you again.
Okay, go for it.
Ring like this doesn't mean you bring my hat.
That's not equatable.
Excuse me. Try to understand what am I saying.
I did
Now,
already.
am I putting constraints or am I putting a condition?
Condition.
No.
When I say bring something like this ring and you bring this cap. Now, am I putting a constraint or am I putting condition on
That's a condition.
condition? So the Quran gives a condition, bring something like it.
No, I'll explain to you. When you say bring something like my ring, it's a circular, has a shape like that, and it shines against the sun. Those are constraints. So that's what you do.
I'm simply saying like it. This
So
is so.
can I not bring a verse,
Wait.
a chapter like the Surah Al-Nisa? Sorry, Surah Al-Fatiha.
Wait.
And what is the constraint or condition?
Wait. So you want to bring something like Al-Fatiha, right?
Yeah, it's simple.
Okay, good. Al-Fatiha has its likeness.
What's his
It has
likeness?
stylistics.
What's the
It
stylistic?
starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
I don't believe in that. So I don't need to put it in that way.
Believe it or not.
What do you mean? I'm writing something better. Why would I write it in the same fashion? It makes no sense.
Listen,
It makes no sense.
if you want to make something like the Quran, look at the stylistics. So it starts with harf al-jar, ba. Then a noun, ism. So mudaf ilayhi, bism. Then it has Allah here. Now here, Allah is what? We're talking about the stylistics now. Is Allah a sifa or a badal of this ism now? And then talks about Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim in this pattern. You have a pattern from the same linguistic madda, rahima, is Ar-Rahman in the patterns of fa'alan and then fa'il. So you have now a grammatical construct and a stylistics. Harf al-jar, ism, which is mudaf ilayhi, and then you have a noun, which is what? A badal, a na'at, a sifa, what are you going to call it? And then you have the na'at of that, the second badal, maybe, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. This is the construct. Let me give you an example of how this pattern is not, even that first line is not matchable even in Arabic language. Because we're talking to bring something like in Arab, because the Quran is in Arabic. The Quran says we have built the Quran in Arabic. So you have to bring something like the Quran with Arabic. If somebody says, Bismil Amir Al-Akram Al-Kareem, same stylistics. Bismil Amir, in the name of the prince, Al-Akram, the most generous, Al-Kareem, the very generous. Now, an Arab-speaking person will say, what are you talking about? We don't speak like this. It's not even eloquent, it makes no sense. You're actually making a mockery of language. Oh, Bismil Amir Al-Akram Al-Kareem. No, we don't say things like that. So that stylistic pattern is not going to be an eloquent speech even today to the Arabic-speaking person, whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim. But that's the construct in the Arabic language, and it is eloquent at that time, even today. No one disputes this eloquence. That was verse 1, ayah 1. Go to Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, you will realize what's happening here. It starts with al, definitive particle al, with a hamd, making this whole phrase. The Arab at that time, we're talking about now to understand this nature, they never used that. Now, Hamd, praise, with the beginning of their statement ever with definitive article with alhamd. They would say hamdan li something and continue. And then it says Rabbul Alameen. The Arab at that time never had in the vocabulary, there was more than one alam. One alam, one word. But here is plural, Alameen. So it's bringing a totally new concept that they were not familiar with at all. Just like if you go back to the English people in the 14th century and say, oh, look at the effect of globalization. Globalization? What is globalization? They don't have a word called globalization. It's a modern word. So Quran introduces terms which it didn't exist in the vocabulary. So if you're going to bring something like the second ayah of the Quran, in Surah Al-Fatiha, you better find a stylistics like that exactly. And yet it needs to be acceptable to the Arabs. The terms that you're going to introduce, which is totally unknown, but new now, the linguistic innovation. And it needs to be meaningful and correct factually, because we know there are more than one world today. Many worlds. That's why we're even talking about multiverses. Many worlds. Worlds of jinn, worlds of men, worlds of animals, many worlds, not one world. So, if you're going to bring something like it, you have to bring it with this particular stylistics. And I can go on and finish the whole chapter, and you'll realize anyone on planet Earth will not be able to do so, because the stylistics is such in that manner.
Well, my dispute would be that the Prophet was actually challenged not by just himself, that he wasn't literate, he was unable to, as you said earlier and your colleague said, he couldn't read right? Okay, so that means he would have not been able to come up with such magnificence. That's your claim, right? Okay, cool. So in the same sentence, you're also claiming that even though the Prophet was illiterate, he was able to come up with such a language.
He didn't come up. He was given.
Speak in such a way.
He was given.
It was given.
He spoke.
It's not his.
Was it not spoken?
It's not his.
Was it not spoken out of his mouth?
Let me clarify one thing. Once we...
But you have to keep it short, otherwise, you know.
Keep it short. Once we compare his speech that we find in the hadith, you know what the hadith, right?
Another man explaining something else.
When we look at the hadith, his statements, we see the stylistics are different than the Quran. And when a scholar of language, literary theory, linguistics, they look at the stylistics, they will say it doesn't come from one individual.
But that was not their purpose to write it that way.
My evidence against what you're saying is this: when the statement of Prophet Muhammad is examined with the Quranic stylistics, they are totally different.
I accept.
That means the Quran was not his own, because he had his own speech, and the Quran goes outside his stylistics. So it was given to him as he says.
That's what you claim. But at the same time, in the hadiths, it also talks about people who challenged the Prophet, and they came to him and said, you speak like a prophet, like a soothsayer, like a liar. It's irrelevant. It's in one of the hadiths.
I want to see and hear.
I don't know the names exactly, because who are the Ashabas of the Prophet? The exact, all of the people that were there, that were learned the entire Quran by memory. Do you know it? Do you know it? You don't know it, so you can't ask me that question.
We do.
Every single one of them. Every single one of them. How many of them were there?
60.
60?
Yeah.
No, there were more than that. 400 it says in one of the
Historical
hadith.
details,
And many
I'd
of them
like to see
died.
the historical details.
But before we go there, because I know you're cutting me off, don't cut me off, right? I want to get to the point where you're
I'm asking for clarification. You can't bring something from history without telling me.
It's in Muslimah, one of the hadiths in Muslimah.
In Sahih Muslim, you mean?
Yeah.
What does it say?
It says about those who came to the Prophet and they disputed him, saying that you are a poet, you're a soothsayer. You know what that means? You're a liar, you're a concealer. You speak in such tone.
The Quran then challenged them.
Yeah, exactly. No. The Quran then, a verse comes out in exact same wording that says the Prophet is not that. Right? So it does, one second.
Challenges them.
No.
Bring
Allah is
something
so
like
concerned, Allah is so concerned that His Prophet is being seen in such a light, He instantaneously brings about another verse that fights the same wordings that these people use. Why would God care about that?
Where is your
That's the first thing. Second thing, no, it's in the Quran.
I want to address this.
Yeah, but you want to address
I want to address it.
But I haven't finished.
The Quran interacts with people at that time directly. When people came in saying, oh, you brought in something, the Quran says, okay, you think it's not from Allah, produce something like it. You think he forged it? Bring something like it. Or you think he learned it from someone else? Bring something
Why
like it.
would he need that? Why would God need to be, why would God feel like he's challenged?
It's not what.
Is God challenged by men?
Listen, it's not that God needs anything.
It sounds like it.
It's establishing the evidence against them.
Why?
Because
There's a need there.
the Quran is going to be the guide for the people.
The air doesn't care whether you believe or not. The air exists.
The air is not God. God is
No,
not
it doesn't matter. I'm saying even a lower form
the Quran
doesn't care. But your God cares.
The Quran, God cares even to the minutiae of details.
But He never
Because
explained
He's
a lot
Rabb.
of things.
He is the Rabb.
He cares about that one.
The sustenance for everyone.
No, but He cares about that one. But He doesn't care about a lot of other things, like how you pray.
Excuse me. Wait. Do not just shift the goal.
I'm not shifting. It's the same
You're
concept.
talking about your inability, the human being's inability, the jinn's inability, the creation's inability to bring something like the Quran. So the Quran
Your constraint.
offers a direct challenge. Be a man enough and say, I will find a chapter like unto it if I'm not able to do it myself. No one is able to. Why I'm saying, why are they unable? You don't see the gravity of this challenge.
No, because you're constrained.
That challenge dismantles the belief, crumbles the belief of every single else on this universe. The challenge is so profound, so profound. It obliterates, annihilates every single belief system in this creation. It tells us, if you doubt that this is not from God, produce something like it. To this day, the challenge stands like that. And we are seeing not a single person is able to bring something like it.
But they can't, because you're putting constraints, and your Quran also improves upon the challenge. Why would God need to improve upon the challenge?
God has
Why?
improved on the challenge.
One surah,
I'm not going to repeat that
one
again,
book,
my friend.
10 of them,
gonna repeat that
an
again.
entire, no, because then you have to
Quran gave you
explain.
options for any
If
of
we
these
go
things.
there, I'm going to go there too. But I'm just saying to you, however you chronologically you put it, it's irrelevant. There's 3 different challenges.
Same challenge.
No, it's 3 different wordings. So the Quran's wordings are not important.
You're not listening.
Are they not
You're
important?
listening.
I am listening. You're not listening,
is
brother.
offering you either of the 3 options.
No, it would have been in the same verse, in the same surah,
End this
brother.
conversation because you're not being very sincere at this point.
I am sincere. You're not.
In my estimation,
I listen to you for mostly, and then when I speak, you cut me off. And when I give you my opinion, you cut me
I'm
off.
not taking your opinion. This is not from sincerity.
How is that not?
I am telling you
It's in the
black
Quran.
and white.
It's in the Quran.
The Quran, challenge of the Quran.
It's not chronological. Is that your
Let
understanding?
me repeat my statement so you can understand. The challenge
I think
of
you're
the
getting
Quran
frustrated
is
now.
that
Yeah, okay.
You have the options of bringing the whole book if you wish. Make the whole book like the Quran. No problem.
I don't need to.
If you want 10
One
chapters,
verse,
if you
one
want
surah.
If you want 10 chapters, you can do so.
One surah. I just want to do one surah.
One surah.
God's challenge.
So, give me one surah. Let me hear it, and tell me how this is.
Without your constraints. Without your constraints. The condition is bring one like it.
Okay, that's fine. Bring like it.
One like it. That's
like
the
it.
condition.
Like it.
That is the
And tell
condition.
me how it's like it. Go on.
It's the condition.
The condition is like.
Can you read? No, because you're Muslim, right? Can you read it and say in English, and I will make it better?
You tell me.
I have to
your
read the Quran
imitation.
then.
Look, your
So
imitation.
that I can do it better.
I want to hear your imitation like the Quran. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make it 7. In the name of the Creator.
Arabic.
Why would I speak Arabic? I don't speak Arabic.
It's not like it.
That's your constraint. But that's your constraint. Do you understand?
That's the end of the discussion, my friend.
Okay, have a good day then. Thank you very much for your
It's
time.
not
Appreciate it.
it's not any point talking because as I explained, this ring and you bring a cup. I'm sorry, we have to.
Then speak Arabic the whole time. Don't speak English at all.
No.
Because it
Don't
makes no
bring a ring.
sense.
Oh, if you don't bring a ring, bring a glass like it. Bring a
But
shoe like it.
that's just
No,
beyond.
no, no, no.
That's beyond
This is-
condition.
This is the level
beyond
of
condition.
Hang on, my
You
friend.
know I don't speak Arabic.
This is the level of your intellectual capability of grasping the nature of the challenge.
That's not the nature.
That's the level of your
didn't say speak in
intellectual
Arabic.
ability. Your intellectual ability, prowess of grasping the challenge.
Can God speak
Even-
English?
Even
Can
of
God understand
explaining
English?
A ring, to bring a ring like it, you don't bring something like that. Because even
But that's not the same.
so when I say bring something like it, like the Quran,
You want the exact
Quran is in
detail.
the Arabic language.
Should I bring it in the same metal component?
Quran is in the Arabic
same
language.
metal component.
Excuse me, Arabic language. So I'll give you an
ridiculous.
opportunity one more time. Arabic
It's
language. go ahead.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Okay, that's fine.
That's ridiculous. That's why you can never convert people.
No, it's not
You can never convert people because you are putting yourself
need to
in
convert.
such a manner
People who are
where
sincere,
you're
this
not
part,
sincere.
with intellectual integrity.
That condition didn't exist. You just placed it straight away.
One
The
condition,
minute I
similar.
came up with a
Similar.
verse, you instantly said you have to speak Arabic.
Similar.
So therefore,
How is
you're
it similar?
defeated.
How is it?
You're defeated.
How is your English similar to
You're
Arabic?
defeated.
Hey, listen.
What do you mean?
How is
English
English
is
similar to
also a language that can explain a lot
How
of
is your
things.
English similar to the Arabic stylistics?
What do you mean? Shakespeare. What do you mean? Shakespeare.
You know what?
Shakespeare has a what?
You know what?
It's okay.
You need to really reflect on more. That's what
Maybe you should.
I do reflect on you.
No, you don't.
Oh,
Because you
no,
cut
you
people
tell
off.
me I don't.
You don't because you don't want to speak to me.
I don't want to speak to you.
It's okay. Have a blessed Allah time.
Hey, nice day.
Yeah, yeah.
God to open up your heart.
May God open up your mind. May God open up your ability to understand things. What about the black stone? Why do you pray to a black stone? You're a stone worshipper.
Now the bigotry comes out.
Bigotry.
Hatred and
Hatred.
But I'm asking you, why do you? I didn't say you do. I said, why do you?
hatred you have in your mind.
How's that hatred? How's that hatred?
The intellectual prowess of this individual.
That's just. I feel sorry for you, brother. I feel sorry for you. You don't have intellectuality. You pray to a stone and you can't explain it.
So how was the discussion?
It was okay, but he didn't want to explain. Every time you explain something to him, he would always put constraints to stop you from making a winning case, which means they cannot allow themselves to be defeated by constantly putting new constraints, new conditions, and then saying nobody can win because nobody's able to. Yeah, of course not, because every time I take a step, you're adding 10 more steps saying you can't meet that because these 10 steps have to be met. You can't speak like a human because you are not a human, because a human can speak 7 languages, you can only speak 1 language. But that's not the point. The point is not for me to speak Arabic, the point is for me to complete the challenge. The challenge was that I have to bring 1 verse, 1 chapter that is better than the Quran. So if I can bring 1 chapter better than what the Quran says, so I must be better than the Quran. But to stop you from having that completeness, they will tell you you have to speak Arabic, you have to have the poeticness, you have to have these conditions, those conditions, so that you never meet it. So therefore, then he claims that you can never meet it because no one can ever meet it. Of course not. You're putting ladders after ladders. The minute I meet it, like his God says, do 1 verse, 1 surah, 1 chapter. And then he says, bring 10. Then he ups it again and says, bring the whole book. Bring the whole book. What does that mean? The God is challenged by someone, they bring something that makes that challenge complete, and God somehow comes up with a new challenge, upgrading the previous challenge, right? 1 to 10 to an entire book. He didn't like that. His answer was, oh, it's not chronological. So that means he constantly has to improve the challenge to stop you from winning, and showing that his God is not real, but rather a man who has written these books, and said therefore you can actually win because another man has spoken this language, has written this book, not a God. A God doesn't require you to write, to know it by a written book, right? If I was God, I would have written it in the stars, because the stars are repeating forever. They never change. No one can stop you from seeing the stars, no matter where you are on the earth. So I'm better than God. It's forever. His book can never be forever because his book is finite. It's a time limited. It can be destroyed. It can be corrupted. It can be changed. If all of the people die,
that knew this book and the book is destroyed, that religion is gone. So God is not intelligent enough, their God, Allah, is not intelligent enough to know these problems, while I can. So I'm better than his God. So that's why they have to put constraints and conditions to stop you from having this winning case. And that's what they always say, this statement, no one has ever met the challenge.